All right, so let's talk about The Shining. Stanley Kubrick's 1980 film is, it's an absolute icon of horror. People have been picking it apart, debating it for, decades now? But at the very center of all that mystery is this one really fascinating conflict. The guy who wrote the book, the master of horror himself, Stephen King, he can't stand the movie. He really hates it.
And trust me, he has never been shy about saying so. See, King has always said his book is, well, it's hot. It's this story about a good man's struggle, about warmth being crushed by this evil from the outside. But Kubrick's film, he saw it as cold, just this detached, icy thing that totally missed the heart of his story. So it really makes you wonder, right? What did a genius like Kubrick see in this book that the author himself just couldn't?
And that's the big question we're going to tackle here. What did Stanley Kubrick actually change from the book? And more importantly, why did those changes create this masterpiece of dread that people just can't stop talking about?
Okay, so first up, a different kind of monster. And really, the whole disagreement starts with the characters. Because Kubrick didn't just adapt King's people, he tore them down and built them back up completely differently. He basically flipped where the horror comes from.
So in Stephen King's book, Jack Torrance is this tragic guy. He's a good man, a recovering alcoholic, trying his best to keep it together for his family. The evil in the story comes from the hotel. The ghosts literally get inside him. But Kubrick's Jack, whoa, totally different story. He's kind of unhinged from scene one. The horror isn't supernatural, it's psychological. The hotel's isolation doesn't make him a monster, it just lets the monster that was already inside come out to play.
And this is a huge reason why King absolutely loathed the casting of Jack Nicholson. Think about it. After a movie like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Nicholson just screamed dangerous. King's whole point was the tragedy of watching a normal guy, a good dad, lose his mind. But with Nicholson, King basically said, "Where's the tragedy? This guy's already nuts." And listen, the changes definitely didn't stop with Jack. In the book, Wendy is strong, she's independent, she fights back. But the Wendy that Kubrick and Shelley Duvall brought to the screen, she's a bundle of nerves, a meek, terrified victim. King hated it. He called her one of the most misogynistic characters ever. But a lot of people see it differently. They see her performance as this incredibly painful, incredibly real portrait of a woman in an abusive relationship just trying to hold on until she just can't anymore. And that raw terror you see on screen, well, that gets into Kubrick's legendary and kind of brutal methods. For that iconic baseball bat scene, he supposedly made them do it 127 times. Can you imagine? The whole process was so exhausting that Shelley Duvall got physically sick. Her hands were raw. But that was Kubrick. He was absolutely relentless. He pushed his actors to the brink to get that authentic dread he was looking for.
All right, so Kubrick completely changed the characters. But maybe his biggest, most revolutionary move was in how he shot the movie. He didn't just point a camera at a spooky hotel, he made the camera itself a character, a ghost.
And his secret weapon for this? A brand new piece of tech at the time called the Steadicam. Now, other films had used it for a couple of cool moving shots, but Kubrick, he looked at this thing and saw a way to completely rewrite the rules of horror. Just picture those scenes of little Danny on his big wheel, tearing through those long, empty hallways. The camera just floats behind him. It's so smooth, so silent, it's downright unnatural. It doesn't move like a person is holding it. It moves like a ghost. It's like we're seeing everything through the eyes of some invisible presence that's just stalking them.
And that's the key, right? Kubrick wasn't just trying to get a cool shot. He made the camera an active part of the story. This floating eye, it seems like it knows what's going to happen. It moves with its own agenda, totally separate from the people on screen. It really feels like it is the spirit of the Overlook Hotel.
And the effect is, well, it's just so creepy. All that wide open space in the hotel should feel grand, but instead it feels like a giant cage, a maze, and that all-seeing camera makes you feel like there is absolutely no way out. Not just for them, for us. We're trapped in the hotel right there with them, under that same constant ghostly gaze.
So, because Kubrick made all these strange, deliberate choices and then refused to explain any of them, the film has become less of a movie and more of a puzzle box. It's a maze of meaning that people have been getting lost in for decades, trying to figure it all out.
And oh boy, the theories get wild.
I mean, you've got people who are convinced it's Kubrick's secret confession for faking the moon landing. Seriously. Others say it's about the Holocaust, or the myth of the Minotaur. The movie is just packed with so much weird detail that honestly, you can find proof for almost any theory if you squint hard enough.
But out of all of them, there's one theory that feels, well, more compelling than most, one that has a ton of evidence to back it up. And that's the idea that The Shining is really about the dark, violent history of America itself, specifically the genocide of Native Americans.
And once you start looking for it, the clues are everywhere. The hotel manager literally says the Overlook was built on an Indian burial ground. The whole place is filled with Native American art and patterns. Then you have Jack making that creepy joke about the white man's burden, and that river of blood pouring out of the elevator. The theory is that's the blood of a nation's history, a history of slaughter that's been buried and is now bursting out. Suddenly, the horror isn't just about one family. It's about all of American history.
So in the end, what we have here are two versions of one story, but they're really two totally different works of art. They come from the same book, sure, but they have completely different souls.
And this really brings us back to that hot versus cold thing King was talking about. His novel is hot. It's full of emotion, family, a father's love, and it ends in this big, fiery, redemptive explosion. Kubrick's film is cold. It's detached, analytical, and it's all about the inevitable, icy doom of this family, ending with Jack literally frozen solid.
So the thing is, you can't really say Kubrick made a bad adaptation. You could argue he didn't really make an adaptation at all. It's like he took the basic frame of King's story, the chassis, and built a completely different kind of machine on top of it. King saw external horror, ghosts turning a good man bad. Kubrick saw internal horror, the evil that's already inside us and the way history just repeats itself over and over.
And there's no better proof of that than the final, chilling shot of the movie. We zoom in on this old photograph from a party back in 1921, and there's Jack, smiling. He didn't just die in the maze, he was absorbed by the hotel. He has become part of its violent past. Just like the ghost told him, he's always been the caretaker. And now he's trapped there forever, another part of the hotel's bloody cycle.
Which brings us to one last, really fascinating question to think about. There's no doubt that The Shining is a cinematic masterpiece, but it's also, in many ways, a complete betrayal of the book. So can a movie be both? Can an adaptation become a classic not by being faithful, but by tearing down its source material and building something totally new? And maybe, just maybe, something even scarier?